Okay, today's podcast sharing, I just wanted to basically talk about psychology and really go into a bit more in depth into why are we addicted or prone to certain behaviors. And I think this is a very important message for people who have not considered this on a psychological level, right? And if you use social media, if you're someone that utilizes alcohol or anything to gain pleasure through that, to gain enjoyment, fulfillment, this is going to be very essential. So I was watching a podcast basically with Diary of a CEO, and he was interviewing this woman. I'm trying to find her name, but basically she was talking about dopamine, which I think a lot of people tend to get wrong, right? Her name, okay, so she came up on Joe Rogan's podcast quite a while back. Her name's Dr. Anna Lemke, Lembke, Anna Lemke. So, anyway, she was talking about how dopamine works and how basically our understanding of it is not that deep, right? For the general knowledge at least. Because when I heard it again, when I heard a podcast the first time with Joe Rogan, I was like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. But hearing it again a few years later, I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. So here's how it works, right? Imagine today you have this weighing scale. Okay, you have a weighing scale right here. Now, on one side is pleasure, one side is pain. Whenever we engage in an activity, we will tip the scale up or down, right? If you're in exercise, you put yourself through pain. Okay, this is not exactly what she said, but this is what I'm guessing. You put yourself through pain. Later on, the after effects come, and then that's when the pleasure comes, right? But her point specifically, if you watch the Diary of the CEO's podcast, basically when we engage in pleasure-inducing activities, that scale gets tipped, right? And when the scale gets tipped, our bodies and our brains are very smart to want to put that back into equilibrium, right? Because now it's out of sync, right? Like a weighing scale. So what they do is they will overcompensate to bring it to the other side. Not by a lot, but significantly. And that's the brain's, or rather the body's way of getting us to continue to do stuff. Because when we are in that state of pleasure, pain is elevated, right? And then when we are in that state of pain, we seek out pleasure to try and rebalance that scale, right? So it's an ongoing hedonistic cycle that we will always continue to search for pleasure as long as there's this cause and effect. And let's say you eat a bar of chocolate, right? Whoa, boom, a lot of good feelings, endorphins, serotonin, whatever. Then you feel great, right? So the pleasure side goes up, zoom, the pain side goes down. So then the body tries to bring it back. After a while, you start to feel discomfort, and that's your body trying to crave more of that dopamine. And with addictive behaviors, what tends to happen is that people will go back and pull on the levers that have induced a lot of dopamine, right? So for those that are more, there are people that are more susceptible to alcohol addiction, right? Because apparently when you talk to people who are alcoholics and go to it, when they drink alcohol, they feel like, wow, this is so comforting. Whereas for someone like me, when I drink alcohol, I'm just like, what? I feel tired, right? I don't really care. So not for that. But some people do, and they have a propensity to want to drink alcohol, and so that's where they get their fix. And there are other mediums of getting that dopamine as well, getting a rush of it. And we just need to be very careful. And especially with social media, I've noticed for myself, whenever it's going towards late at night, right? Especially past 11, my bedtime. Now, by the way, it's almost 12:30. I have a flight later. It shifted from 7 to 11, so 4 hours later. So I was supposed to be at the airport at 5, but anyway, now we're changing it to like be there at 9. Basically, I forgot what I was talking about. Waking up early. Yeah, when it goes into being late at night, I have this tendency to scroll on social media. Or if I'm not doing that, I'll be watching like these YouTube videos of like summaries and summaries of like anime, manhwas, where they just go through. Because I can't be bothered to like just scroll and read, so I'm listening and I'm watching the visuals. It's very dopamine inducing, and I notice after 30 minutes to an hour, when I stop and I want to rest, like, oh my gosh, it's almost 12 and I want to sleep, what I notice is that I start to feel discomfort, and that's what creates the craving to want to continue watching more and more and more. And whether for you it's like Netflix or scrolling or anything else, right? TV shows, it's the same feeling, and it's always going to be like after that pain and pleasure scale tips one side towards the pleasure, the pain comes in, and I realize now, this is the reason why I completely need to avoid these things. And this year specifically, I've avoided alcohol. Not that I drink a lot, but it's just not good, and I socially drink. I've avoided chocolate. I eat a lot of chocolate. I'm not proud to say that, but now it's a lot better, a lot more manageable. And fast food. Fast food is super convenient, and the thing about fast food is that when you are eating fast food in the moment, you're like, wow, it's triggering our human response to all like pleasure, and it's crispy, different textures, right? I'm salivating just thinking about it. But then when you wait like 30 minutes later, you feel like groggy, greasy, and you can't really think straight. And that's just because it's like oily and processed, and yeah, it's not good for you. So anyway, I cut that all out last year. Only a few days ago, I broke my fast. And I realized that by avoiding it completely, my discipline has grown towards it. And I no longer seek pleasure from it. In fact, even the other day when I had Macs, so 1st of Jan, I had Macs for supper, 3 a.m., and I had Mac breakfast, 11 a.m. I realized I didn't feel like I'm very drawn towards it either. It was nice. I would eat it again, but it does something to reset in my brain that I no longer feel that desire. So I think that's something that I am very happy that these things can change over time. And so for you personally, please identify what are the things in your life at the moment that you tend to run towards. What when you are in a stressful situation do you turn to, right? Because this is going to be a very important question that in the future, apparently, when we hit stress and we hit these cortisol raising events, right? What happens is that we tend to turn back to our old patterns of what we used to seek out. And I know for me, oh wow, chocolate, overeating on chocolate is very easy for me to do. And that's something that I want to completely abstain towards and make sure I'm managing my stress levels firstly to avoid the situation completely. If I can do that, great. But if I really, really cannot, then if I don't have chocolate in the house, I don't have access to it, I'm in some secluded area, I'm not gonna fall prey to it. So remove whatever you have a propensity to head towards. That's the main message for today. Because we need to lock in, we need to focus on what our purpose is as men. And I think as I was reflecting this morning about purpose, what's God's purpose for me, trying to align it with the Bible and what he deems as worthwhile. This is something that I'm still trying to figure out, but I do believe I've been given gifts, given strengths in areas that not many people have. The fact that I'm talking to you right now, this is something that not everyone, in fact, I literally only know like a handful of people off the top of my head that produce videos on a daily basis. right? So me being here, this message is really for you. And end of year party, I got to MC. In 2 days, I'll be MCing for 2 or 3 days. I'll be MCing for my companies or my agencies. What do we call the kickstart town hall? And I have to acknowledge that my strength is somewhere here, right? And for me, my purpose, as I was reflecting the way that I want to lead other people towards their goals, leading them towards what God wants for us. These are things that not everyone has on their heart, and I'm 100% sure God has placed this on my heart, because even as I share, I mean, I'm tired, it's late at night. Again, this is not my normal speaking voice, right? This is the very nighttime, quiet Duncan. I don't feel tired talking. I've been talking for almost 11 minutes. So find out what in your life is very easy for you to do. What do people say your strengths are? Because after I did the MC, everyone was saying, wow, great job, babe. That was really nice, really fun. Wow. And I honestly didn't think I had a knack for it. It was my first time doing that on such a big scale. But it's like throughout this year also, there have been times where I was leading games, helping out with different things the past few years. It seems like this is an area that God has probably called me to lah. So I will continue to serve, I will continue to give, and I will do so joyfully, because He will give me the strength to continue to do this. Whereas for you, whether you believe in God or not, I do believe that you have strengths, innate strengths that were given to you, right? Whether by whatever you believe in, try to harness those strengths. Take it seriously. What can you do this year to make those strengths grow? When I was reflecting on my year and what were my strengths, what were my weaknesses, I even asked ChatGPT, based on what you know about me, can you please name da-da-da-da-da? My goal wasn't just to figure out my weakness and work on it. My goal was to, how can I double my strengths? That hasn't been a focus for me yet. I wrote down some things for my weaknesses, but I want to grow in my strengths and see how I can utilize this more. And I hope that you hearing this today, you feel empowered to want to take your strengths to the next level as well, because we are destined for more as men. We are destined to lead. We are built for leadership. And leadership doesn't come in the form of just being an alpha male, leading a whole group and then taking charge. No, leadership can just be being firm in your decision and allowing people to follow you in ways that you don't think you feel worthy to be followed in. Right? For me, I don't feel worthy to have a community that follows or listens to what I say. I mean, in fact, my channel of almost 100, I post things every day. Okay, almost every day, here and there. And sometimes I feel like, who am I to say these things? But every now and then I get a little reaction, like they put a heart, they put a thumbs up, someone types a comment. Every now and then I get reminded that even if right now there is no direct impact, in the future, if someone else stumbles across this group, joins it and sees what there are inside, it could help them. It could really help them. So having leadership and doing what God intended for us, especially as Christians, the husband is the head of the house, right? And in the same way, God is the head of the church. So we submit to God, just as we as leaders in a family take charge, and we protect our family, and we are very loving and dear to our wives, and we don't abuse that power. I mean, I'm not married, I'm not even dating, but this is something that I constantly see in the Bible that when I come across these verses, I'm reminded of. So yeah, find some ways that you can lead in. I know friends that are quiet, but they have strengths in certain skill sets that no one else has. I have a friend that I've been discipling, and I guess you can call it like mentoring, for the past like almost 2016. It's been almost 8 years. Yeah. Anyway, this friend, national player for Rainbow Six Siege, right? Generally very quiet. In group settings, but when you talk to him one on one, he talks a lot, and he's able to share quite openly, at least with me lah. So, and I realize even though maybe in the church setting he's someone that isn't like in the leadership status, leading groups. In fact, he's being led by me ma back then, and being led by other group leaders. Even though that's his role, he has a skill set that none of us have leh, to be a esports gamer and now a manager for one of the teams I shall not mention. That's You can lead in all these areas, and he's leading a team there now. He's their manager, right? Manager of like five players. So I'm sharing this. Why I'm sharing all of this to summarize is because there's power in all of us. God has put it in our hearts, and I do want men to take charge and be more willing to embrace the discomfort, embrace the challenge, and know that God's strength is enough. And as long as we're willing to go on the purpose and lead in the way that He wants us to lead, that's more than enough. So my goal now is to figure out, what is God's purpose for me? What is God trying to tell me? And go with that, because the moment I find that and I figure it out and I follow it and know that that's my life purpose, nothing else matters. My job, my career, same thing. My career, my family, my friends, none of this matters, because as long as I have that purpose, then life will turn out in the way that is best to God. And God does not want to harm us, right? He has plans to prosper us, which the root word of prosper is to complete. It's not to give you monetary blessings, but it's to complete you. So I hope this message encourages you today, and I hope that in a few months after listening to this, and you really take this seriously, because 90% of people listening to this right now will not actually act upon it. They just listen and they will move on. It's very true. So if you act upon it and you actually reflect and think, I promise you'll be a lot closer to figuring out what God has in store for you. And when you figure that out, you'll have so much joy. What you do in your purpose, it will energize you, it will give you strength, and it will make you come alive and feel as if you should have been doing this all along. So I'm also hoping for the revelation. When it comes, and for the meantime, just do my best. Continue to study the word, share with people, reach out through my lifestyle. That's what I'm focusing on. So take care. See y'all in the next one.